Hello and welcome to the Modern Homesteading Podcast. I'm your host, Harold Thornbrough, joined by, go ahead, Rachel, I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm Rachel Jameson.
All right. I usually just do that for you and take over, and I'll just let you do it. Today, we're going to talk about growing garlic because, well, it's that time of the year, isn't it? And there's always a lot of interest in that. People who maybe have never grown it before, there's a little bit to know, but it's a really easy crop to grow. It's fun to grow. And it has a lot of benefits, which we'll talk about. But before we jump into all that, what's been going on in your homestead, Rachel?
Beans.
Yeah.
I have lots of beans.
Yeah. Just picking and canning and
Yeah,
what?
I think these ones are I talked to a friend yesterday and she said she has not had a good bean year. And I said, I have had a bumper bean year. How about I give you some?
Our regular green beans didn't do good. Now I grew those noodle beans this year too. Those really long noodle beans, and they did great. I got tons of those, but
I love those.
I don't love them all that
Really?
much. Yeah, the taste got a weird taste to me. They don't taste like green beans. I
They're
mean, it's just
kind of-
different, you know.
Do you think they're a little bit spicy?
No, mine aren't spicy. They just they got a weird taste. I didn't care for them that much. I mean, it's the first year I've actually grew them, and I don't know. They did well though. They grew like crazy.
Yeah,
And,
mine are purple.
Yeah, mine are green.
Chinese noodle beans, and they're they have just a little bit of a spice to them.
Okay, they're just a different kind then. Yeah.
We like to cut them up and fry them in butter and garlic, of all things.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah.
Really
garlic goes great in beans. But yeah, I grew some green beans in some pots. I did like I have these big, they're not even that big, they're like 5-gallon planters, and I did like a 3 bamboo stick tripod coming up out of it, and I did some pole beans, some Kentucky pole beans in those, and those actually did pretty good, but there just wasn't a lot of them. I think I only did 2 pots, and so there wasn't a lot of them, but they grew pretty good. I just didn't plant a lot like that. But the ones in the garden didn't do all that great. But like I said, the noodle beans did. So yeah.
Well, that's a good idea for people that don't have a garden space.
Yeah, it worked really well. It was the first year I did that because I just wanted some more, I can never have enough stuff growing. So you always got to add some extra seeds. Here, let's put them in that. And I just put like 5 or 6 seeds around in a circle, put those 3 bamboo, like 6-foot bamboo poles up, tied them at the top, and it made a little teepee. And yeah, they climbed.
Get tippy when they got crazy.
No. Matter of fact, when I was doing you probably seen, I mean, if you watch those videos I was doing in the homestead front porch, they were in the background right along my walkway. You could see them back there. But yeah, they were fun to grow. But that's the first time I ever did that, and it was a good idea for somebody who didn't have a lot of space. Yeah, I thought I was just an experiment to see how good they would do, and they did pretty good.
Yeah, I have mine on the arch, but this next year I think I'm going to start them earlier because it was supposed to shade my lettuce, and
I did the same thing,
shading my lettuce until now they are. Well, it's 40
mine grew kind of slow too, and it was kind of a little too late to really shade out the lettuce. I did the exact same thing. That's funny. But yeah, so just beans and beans. Are you doing anything other than just canning them? Or are you freezing some? Or are you
right now I'm canning them. I might try fermenting some.
Oh yeah, doing like do you ever do like dilly beans?
I do, but I'm the only one that likes anything dilly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Other than dill pickles, I'm the only one that likes anything dilly. So
I love dill.
Yeah, I do too. And I like the pickling, but that and I think we expanded garden beds, but that was at the property. We had like maybe 1,000 square feet. That's the other thing we did this week. So
nice. Well, you sound like you were pretty busy. I didn't do much gardening really. This week it was other homesteading stuff. Like I kind of consider anything that you're doing that's self-sufficient or self-reliant falls in the realm of homesteading. So I do like our own car maintenance and stuff. So I had to put brakes on our car, and I've done oil change on my truck, and I'm doing things like that. But I also we sell comfrey salve in an Etsy store, and I was needing to make a big batch of that. So I made a bunch of comfrey salve also and put that up, and we'll sell some more of that. So did do that, but that was kind of like the last few days what I've been doing as far as homesteading things.
My husband does all of our maintenance, so I can't brag about it. He's the one that does it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it's part of homesteading. It's
Yes.
anything you're doing
Yep.
that's, like I said, self-reliant. You're doing it, and stuff. It falls in that realm of homesteading to me.
Yeah. Yep. And I've been doing my adventures in bread. I finally got a good rise
I seen
yesterday.
you post that on Facebook. That looked
I
like
think
it looked
I
like a
don't think
real
I put it in the
nice
group
loaf.
though, so I should put it in the group. I finally got it to rise.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did any different other than from what I've read. It's that my starter is older now and more
Yeah, I've heard it
accurate.
does better as it gets a little more
Yeah.
mature. Yeah, it looked like a beautiful loaf of bread. It looked perfect, really.
It was pretty good.
Like some artisan stuff.
My
You're gonna start
husband made speaking of garlic again, my husband made garlic toast out of it.
so you guys use a lot of garlic then.
We actually do eat a lot of
Yeah.
garlic.
So have you planted your garlic yet? Let's just jump right into it. Have you planted your garlic yet this year?
No, ours goes in here around October 15th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're a little bit, that's about when I put mine in, but I might be putting in a couple weeks early. I probably could wait another week or two, but really from what I understand, which, I mean, everything I studied, you could do it here anytime from like the end of September to the end of October. And I think you could probably go a little earlier with that too, if you wanted to. Yeah.
I play it by ear sometimes too. Like, we had some really cold nights, so I kind of suspect we might have an early frost this year. Usually our first frost is September 30th. So if we end up, being a little early, I might squeak it in early. It also depends on just everything else in life. You get busy.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is for me. I could probably get it in there now, but just
Right.
too much going on. I'll wait about probably another 2 to 3 weeks and then probably think about putting it in.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's something that it's that time of the year, if people, we get excited in the spring for planting, but you got to get excited in the fall for planting garlic because it's the best time to grow it. Now you can plant it in the spring, you just ain't going to get a very large bulb.
I did that the first couple of years, and I also planted Softneck, which we'll get into later.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about that for sure.
I didn't have good success, but
and there's a reason for that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we also plant scallions. Do you use those?
No, I don't plant them, but yeah.
I'm sorry,
the Scapes. Oh, the shallots. Yeah.
And shallots we plant about the same time as we do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, garlic it sounds like you're using a lot of it. And
we love it.
We do too. I don't do it probably as much as you do with it as far as like recipes and things. I mean, mostly it's just adding a little flavor to dishes. That's what we do with it here. It's just another thing that we can give it a little flavoring, and we do that a lot. But I just love growing it. It's one of them plants.
It is fun.
It just makes you feel like a really successful gardener. And because it's so easy, you just plop it in, and then it's one of the first things you get in the next year, and you feel good about it. It's like it just offers you something with some great flavor, something you can use in the kitchen, something that just looks great in your garden, and you feel like it just adds a level of success to you.
I love it, and it's beautiful too. Like, depending on which variety you have, I mean, I think it's really pretty, and I love to look out there and see the little green rows and.
Yeah, for sure. I thought some people may not be familiar. I mean, because there's people on all levels, that listen, that are interested in homesteading. There's some people who don't know anything about food, anything about growing things. They don't really understand the structure of garlic and what it exactly is. They see it in the store. They've never bought, like they've never seen a garlic plant, maybe even. I don't know. There's people like that. I mean, I've talked to people that didn't know that tomatoes came off of a plant. They thought they'd come off of a tree one time. So, I mean, you get all kinds of people that just they're not familiar with food. So, but there are different parts of the garlic, and we'll talk about garlic and different parts of it. So I guess we should probably explain what we're talking about. But the bulb is the part where we get our cloves from, and you tear off the little triangle looking cloves, and so off of a bulb, and that's the part that's in the ground. And then you have the scapes. Maybe you have scapes. Depends on what kind of garlic you grow. Yeah. If you got hardneck, you'll have scapes. And then you got the bulbil, which is where the seeds are. And we don't often see that. Again, hardneck, you'll see that. But sometimes we don't let it go to seed fully. but yeah, those are just some breakdowns of kind of like the parts of the garlic plant, and we'll talk about some different things there because scapes are really useful. I love
Yeah,
using
and
the
they're the
scapes.
part that like it goes up and it's green and it gets like this little curly
It'll
thing
get
on
curl, and once it curves
right.
downward, that's when you can pick it. And yeah, we can
Yeah.
just talk about that a little bit more as we come to it too. But garlic's a really useful plant to have in your garden, other than just food too. I mean, it's actually, I mean, it's a great companion plant for some things. It actually has some purposes for like insect control and things like that. So it's a good companion
Yeah.
plant in some
Right.
instances,
Right.
but there's some things it doesn't go well with also, and you have to think about it. It's a plant that's really pretty easy to store also in different ways. Now you've told me there's some other ways, like you make some things out of it that you store, but even
Yeah.
just storing it as a whole bulb, I mean, it's relatively
I should
easy.
take pictures and put those in the homestead front
You
porch.
do
Some
need to
of
do
my
that. Absolutely.
yeah.
But yeah, but it's also something that has had lots of purposes. I wrote a blog post a while back and I was just looking up random facts about garlic, and like I didn't know it was toxic to dogs and cats. And evidently it
Yeah.
is. And I didn't know
Yeah.
that, back when I wrote that post, and that it's actually, you can use it like in China, they make glue out of it for like porcelain and glass.
Really?
Don't know how, but yeah, it's used for
Oh,
that.
wow.
And then
Okay.
there's a lot of people, and I've heard this as a myth and didn't know if there was any science to it or not, but then I actually found some some actual documentation where they've been done some studies on it and stuff about mosquito eating garlic and mosquitoes, and how
I have
mosquitoes
read
tend to
that.
will not bug you as bad if you
Like,
eat a lot of garlic. So I didn't know if
yeah.
that was any truth to that or not, but there actually has been some scientific studies done on
I'm
that,
gonna say there is because my husband does not love garlic as much as I love garlic.
and they
And
eat them
I
up, huh?
literally will eat enough to sweat the smell of garlic. I know, maybe TMI for people, but I don't get bit by mosquitoes. I can sit
Yeah.
next to him and they will just flock to him.
Yep.
And I don't
Well,
get bit.
like I said, I ran across a couple studies where I found where they
Yeah.
were actually doing some scientific research on that and found it there to be some truth in that. So I made you, have to eat maybe a bunch of it for that to be true.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, evidently it can be used in that way too. So it's got like these multiple benefits other than just, culinary benefits, but it also has health benefits as well. I
Oh
mean, there's
yeah.
been a lot of medicinal proof really that's came out of eating garlic, using it in medicinal ways. Like I ran across this historical thing about World War II, and they ran out of penicillin in Russia and in Britain, and they were using garlic as a replacement for that, as like an antibiotic. And I
Yeah.
thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I have read that, and I've also read that it can help like with mouth sores and stuff
Really?
like
Yeah,
that.
that's
So like,
yeah, it's interesting.
just actually chewing it or putting it, which is whew, that would be strong. Just, pop a clove of garlic in. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've read about that, and it actually can help with metals. They've found that it helps with metal.
Well, like
If you have,
removing heavy metals from your
yeah, like
body, or
almost like
okay.
chelating it, and
Yeah,
it's my
interesting.
antimicrobial and
Mm-hmm.
antibacterial.
Yep.
I and antifungal because I was reading, I don't know about for humans, but I was reading that if you plant it near fruit trees,
Really? See, that's
it can
a
help with
companion.
fungus. And I'm thinking to
Yeah.
myself, I have
Yeah,
my
I did.
apple tree problem.
I
So
have read that with some other stuff. I wasn't
yeah.
looking at trees, but I was looking at some other plants, and it was companion plant, and that's one of the benefits it had was that
Yeah.
antifungal quality. So
So
yeah, it's
gum
got lots
health.
of
And I was
benefits.
reading, I look up, there's a website that I always use and I can't, um, it's a nutrition website that I use to look up my macro and micronutrition,
Hmm.
not just like of your major groups, but even down to like, I don't know, manganese and stuff like that, that's in things when we eat them. And it has pretty, for its size and amount, it's got a lot of B6 in it, and um,
Yeah.
sulfides, which are supposed to help with so much immune system type stuff.
Yeah. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like it's a really, I mean, all around, it's just a great plant to have in your diet for sure. I mean, I'm sure you could be too extreme with
Oh,
anything,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
I would never claim that any plant is like a fix all of anything. But I
Right.
think if we
Yep.
eat enough quality foods and a variety of quality foods, which garlic is one of, yeah, it can have great health benefits for sure.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
tastes so yummy.
I've even
So
heard it
you're
has like
okay
blood
with it.
pressure. I've read about blood pressure benefits too, because blood pressure is something I've struggled with before. And,
Okay.
it's just one of them foods that can help with blood pressure as well.
Yeah, I was
So,
reading that it's a vasodilator, which is it opens
mhm.
up your
Yeah.
blood vessels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lets it flow a
Yeah,
little bit
which
better.
is why
Yeah.
it helps with so I mean, maybe it's the heat, depends on how hot you got your what kind of variety you have, maybe, huh?
Perhaps. Yeah. I think
Some of
that,
them are kind of spicy.
yeah, yeah. See, I don't know, because I've never actually had a spicy, like what I would consider a spicy garlic. I mean, to me, they've all been pretty similar. I mean, there's a definite difference between the soft necks and the hard necks that I bought. The
Right.
hard necks definitely have, no, it's the soft necks that which is it? Yeah, it's the soft necks that have more flavor. They're a little bit stronger, right? Am I saying that right?
I thought it was the Hardneck that had more flavor.
You are right. It is the hard necks. The hard necks are more,
Yeah,
yeah, the soft necks are more
because
mild
we're not
flavored.
like
Yeah.
we love our garlic, but we're not huge fans of like the super spicy
It
garlic.
it is the
So
soft necks.
yeah,
They're more mild.
so
Yeah.
I grow a lot of elephant garlic, but I do grow the Hardneck.
Well, let's get that out of the way right now. What's the
Right.
truth about elephant garlic?
It's not actually a garlic.
It's not actually garlic. That's right.
It's part of the allium family, but it's
Yeah.
closely
Closer to a
related to the
leek.
leek.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
why you get the huge bulb. It's
Mm-hmm.
because it's
Right.
got
Yeah. And it does have a garlicky taste. I
yeah,
mean,
I'm guessing they call it garlic because it has the cloves
it has,
and the leek has just the one.
right.
Yeah.
And it's very similar, and it's just large.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's technically not
No,
garlic,
it's
which
not.
is, yeah, it always throws people off when you throw that out there, because people just think, oh, it's this big giant, garlic
Right.
you can grow. Yeah, kind of. It doesn't.
And it
So
doesn't
it
really
does
get
lack in those health benefits we were talking about, though, because it
right.
wouldn't have a lot of those qualities that true
Right.
garlic
It would
has.
have similar to whatever a leek has,
Right.
probably, or onion. Yeah.
If you love the taste and you love what
Yep.
it can give you, but there are just certain qualities about it that aren't going to be the same as
Right.
a true
Which is
garlic.
why I started growing the Hardneck
Mm-hmm.
after my experiments with Softneck didn't go so well.
Yeah. Well, let's
Yeah.
talk about that. Let's talk about the difference between soft neck garlic and hard neck garlic. And I'll get it right this time. Yeah, soft neck is the mild, more
You
mild
threw me for a loop
garlic.
there.
What's that?
I said you threw me for a loop there.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I was like, I'm getting confused here, because I grow both here every year.
Okay.
And I was trying to think, which one do I
Is
put?
there a reason why you grow both? Because
Yeah.
of flavor?
Well, no, because one of the qualities I like about soft neck is it stores longer.
Okay.
And it braids easier, which is
it does
cool.
braid because
It braids easier and it
they
stores
don't get
longer.
the scape. You
Right.
just get the long. It looks like a
exactly. It's the leaves kind of
it just looks like leaves. Yeah.
Yeah, and they braid nice, and which I like to do and store it.
Because it looks pretty.
It does. It looks cool hanging in your kitchen, and it lasts longer than hardneck. And so we can grow the hardneck, which has more flavor, and we can use it first. And then
Right.
in the later months before we get to our next batch of garlic, we still have the soft neck. So I kind of grow them both for that reason.
So do you plant your soft neck at the same time?
Yeah.
It doesn't require the cold necessarily.
Doesn't, but it does.
much.
It will benefit
But
it the
does
same
do
way. You'll
better?
get that
Okay,
real
yeah.
nice, bulb of garlic, and actually get a bigger bulb of garlic than
Well,
you do with
maybe you've
hardneck.
talked me into some soft neck again. I mean,
Well,
you can never have
where
enough
you're
garlic.
at, it's hard to grow soft neck
I
because
know. Yeah.
soft neck is generally zone 6 through 10.
Yep.
Or soft neck is generally
Yeah.
zone 6 to 10, and then hard neck is your northern. It does well in cold
Yeah,
weather.
I mean,
So, and
yeah.
I'm in zone 6. Well, we're
I'm in
5B,
zone
6A.
5,
We're like right on the border.
Right. Yeah.
So it'll grow here with some mulch. Like I'll mulch it really good.
I think I could get away with it in a couple. If I'm careful about where I plant it, I have a few microclimates.
Yeah, you would have to pay attention and really kind of tend to it a little bit. Mulch it really, really good. Put it in a place where it's going to get plenty of sunlight.
Up here, we plant ours like 6 inches deep because
Oh, really? See, I just might be like a couple inches deep here. Yeah, I just barely push it in. But then I mulch it pretty heavily too.
Well, and I think that's only for the soft neck. The hard neck, I don't have to plant that deep. But
right,
like
okay.
Deep mulch, it just protects it. Because when I didn't, they would just rot over the winter because they would get frozen.
Maybe yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. See, I don't even know anybody that tries to grow soft neck. That I figure I was at kind of like the limit where you really could grow soft neck outside,
Well,
in as
see,
far
I
as
did
the
it because I
zones.
was being thrifty, because mostly what you buy at the store is going to be the soft neck.
Hmm.
So I had gone to the store and just bought those and planted them, not
Yeah,
realizing this was like when I didn't, it was my first couple years growing garlic,
yeah.
and I planted the soft neck.
I bought Hardneck. I can't remember who I bought. I bought it online from one of the seed suppliers, and it's been great. I can't remember the variety. It's a porcelain type,
I do that all the time.
and I can't remember the variety exactly. But I actually got my soft neck from the farmer's market. I actually
Right.
bought some garlic there in the spring, and then I just saved some of it. And it's an artichoke style. They got the silver skin and the artichoke. You got two different kinds of the
Oh,
soft necks, and it's an artichoke style, which you get like your cloves will kind of like double up on the artichoke
oh,
style. You'll get
that
like a
makes sense.
really gigantic, and they call it like an artichoke because it kind of like layers with the
Okay.
cloves, and it's that style. But I don't know what variety it is either, other than it's an
Right.
artichoke style, but because I got it from the farmer's market. But it's really good. That's why I saved it. I was like, this is really good stuff. I want to save some of these cloves to plant, so it's really good. So but the hardneck varieties are, of course, they're really easy to grow.
They're like foolproof unless
Yeah,
you have like
it,
wet
unless you're
soil, something weird like wet
well, I
soil,
think if
or
you're down
yeah.
south, it's the opposite though. I think if
Right.
you're way down south, because it's a
Okay.
cold variety. So
True.
if we're talking to
That's
people in Georgia or Alabama or Florida or something, yeah,
Florida, like your
they
last.
probably,
Yeah.
they probably couldn't grow
True.
a soft neck
Because
variety,
they need it to be cold.
or I
They
mean a
need it
hard
to,
neck variety.
it
Yeah.
needs that stratification, that
Yep.
cold,
Right. Yep. Yeah. It needs that cold uh, period.
cold
Now you
period.
could, because what you have to do if you're going to try that, you can, but you have to put it in a refrigerator or
I've done it
freezer.
before, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
I've
commitment.
done it with seeds, with some tree
Yeah.
seeds and stuff to do that with, and tried it. But there's some different kinds. There's the porcelain, there's the purple stripe. There's another one that's like a bigger one. I can't remember what it's called, but they're pretty like you said, they're kind of like this for us in our zones. They're really easy to grow. I mean, you just plop them in and they grow,
Yeah.
and you get these, and I love that you get the scapes off the
Yeah.
hardneck varieties, because those are great to cook with, and you get those early spring, and you can use those in your dishes and stuff in the early spring, and I really like doing that.
I let some of my scapes go so I could get the bulbets
Okay, so you're
this
planting
year.
them from seed?
I'm going to be this year, yeah.
Yeah.
My
Okay,
first
because
year.
not a lot of people do that.
It's a thrifty way to expand your hardneck,
Yeah.
or even my elephant garlic, because they can, it can get expensive to buy.
Yeah, well, I save back a few
Right.
and just use the cloves. I've
Right.
never
I'm
tried
trying
planting
to
from
build
seed.
my stash.
Yeah, I've never tried to plant them from seed. I always just use the
I have not
cloves,
either.
and I just save a bunch of cloves and plop them in.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I read an article, and as a matter of fact, I'm linking to it in the show notes. Of how to really do, what are the benefits of growing from seed, because there are some benefits in growing from
Yeah.
seed. Like some of your finest garlic in the world is actually grown from seed. That way it can stay true to itself, and it can,
Yes.
there's actually a lot of benefits to it if you're looking for the
Right.
highest quality of garlic.
Well,
That's actually the best
quality.
way to
Well,
do
and
it.
like for me, like I said, I don't have a huge garlic stash yet, and
Hmm.
like elephant garlic leeks,
That's not.
air quotes for the podcast,
Hmm.
leeks are actually they're quite expensive to buy.
Yeah.
So that's why I saved the bulbets and such from those. And then my hardneck had them too. And I thought, oh, I'll try. If I'm going to be doing this, why not try it? So
Yeah.
yeah,
You don't know what kind of hardneck garlic you grow?
I don't. I did just order more
Is
from,
it a purple by any chance? Is it the purple
yeah,
stripe or anything? Is it okay? Yeah.
yeah, it's a
And
purple stripe.
that's a really common one. It's really good for like
Yep,
baking and stuff. And it
yep.
kind of has those streaks, those purple streaks on
Yeah,
it.
they're really
Yeah.
pretty. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
It's a
variegated.
nice
It's almost
garlic.
like variegated leaf, like the
Hmm.
outside of it anyways. When you
Yeah.
open them up, they look just like regular garlic, but
Yeah. Mine's the porcelain. It's got a little bit bigger cloves,
yeah.
and Yeah, it's really
And I
strong though.
ordered
It's really strong
more.
tasting.
Is it? I
Yeah.
ordered more too, which it should be here soon. I ordered from, I think it was Urban Farmer.
Okay. Yeah, you was telling me about that the other day.
Yeah, I
The
ordered some more of the Hardneck.
Yeah, pretty much if you're in zones 3 through 7, you'll want to stick
Right.
to a hardneck mostly. If you're
Yep.
wanting the surest success, you'll want to grow a hardneck variety. If you're in zone 6 through 10, softneck garlic
Right.
varieties. And
Or I was reading an article about um, growing it inside.
yeah, you can grow it inside. Again, there's really no limits to growing anything if you want to put
Yeah.
enough work into it. I
Yep.
mean, like I say, you can
The
grow bananas
Softneck
in
you could
Michigan
grow
if you
inside.
want,
Like
but
if somebody wanted to grow a Softneck in an apartment building, they could put them in a
yeah,
planter and,
absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely. Now, it wants really good drainage. You don't have a problem with that because you got pretty sandy soil there.
I do not have a
So
problem.
garlic should do great there, but it also likes neutral soil. And that's, you have
Yeah,
a more acidic soil there, right?
I do. Well, it shouldn't be too bad now. We've amended it
Yeah.
enough. At
Yeah.
my garden place, at our new property, yes, we have probably have some acidic.
Yeah. And it does like it more neutral and it likes it rich. Lots of compost. Like
It does.
when I plant it, I will mix in a ton. I'll just take my hands and kind of work in a whole bunch of compost right before I plant it. And that'll give it that real good boost because it is a heavy feeder for sure.
I didn't realize that until the last 2 years.
Hmm.
In these last 2 years, I've had the best garlic, and it's because I've heavily amended it with
Yep.
compost.
Yep. It does like that. It's
Yep.
one of them. And that
And
will also
mulch.
help with your drainage and it'll help with
Yep.
your, it'll actually help with your soil, pH as well by adding in a lot of compost.
Yep.
So it kind of will work that soil all the way around. And it likes full sun. Don't put it in the shade. It won't grow good. It
Right.
loves full sun.
Yeah, mine, wherever I have mine right now is full sun. I was thinking about the whole fruit tree thing, and I'm like,
Well, I
maybe
was getting ready to say, I've used it as a companion plant and put it around some things before, just for an experiment for bug control and
right?
things like that. And it grew. It doesn't grow as big of a bulb for sure. It
Okay.
doesn't. If you're
Well,
looking for a crop that, I mean, it'll definitely grow and it'll definitely put off the scent and it'll do the thing. But if you're looking for gigantic bulbs that get the highest quality, the most cloves, yeah, full sun's what it wants.
okay. So if you're planting it for the beneficial properties to other plants, you lose
You
out on
can
the,
plant it. Yeah, you could plant it.
you probably
It
just
just,
lose out on the more edible, nice sized bulbs.
yeah, right.
So,
And if you're, but yeah, there's purposes for it other than, like I said, that, and you could
right.
just use it more for the pest control, because it is a great companion plant. You're mentioning trees, but it's really
Right.
good around tomatoes. Like,
That's because my brain is on, I gotta get
yeah,
my orchard protected before I
and
get frost. So yeah.
right, yeah, and it like I said, you mentioned the fungal control, and I mentioned the pest
Right.
control, and it plays a part in a whole bunch of other plants that struggle with those things. Like tomatoes often have fungal issues,
Right.
so putting
Yes.
garlic near tomatoes can help with the fungal issues, and peppers as well. And the pest, on the pest side of things, it's more like cabbage and brassicas and things like that. For potatoes, it's the pest and the fungal control because it does both around. It does well with those also.
Well, it
But
helps with cabbage. I don't know if it's cabbage. It's cabbage loppers.
yeah, it's not so much like the cabbage worms or
Yeah.
those. I never noticed it making a difference for those. Nothing stops those other than just
I
some
don't
row
think
cover,
so.
a row cover that keeps them from actually being able to land on it. It's about the only thing that stops that. But and we have that's a big thing here. Like you can walk out in my garden right now and see those little white butterflies flying all over the
Oh, yep.
place. They're just thick out there.
They are. And I should have just left my cabbage covered.
I should have too. I should have covered after I picked the big cabbage heads. I should have covered it back up.
Yeah.
Because it's worthless now. I told you about all them little heads. It's popping up. Yeah, they're there, but
Oh
they're so
no.
riveted with holes and they're just got
That's
ate up.
what's happened to mine.
Yep.
And I have all the cute little butterfly
I
moths.
might as
And
well
yep.
just pull it out because it's done.
And I had
I
mine
can't use it.
covered. I had mine covered and I don't know why I uncovered it. I think I was worried about moisture because it's been humid.
Yeah.
Um,
And I've even thought about, this is a little off topic, but I've thought about for next year getting the netting. So when I pull the row cover off in the cooler weather, I can cover it back with the netting, which would
that's
keep them
great.
off as well. And that way, still get good airflow and it'll let out the humidity and things, but yet it'll keep the bugs off. and just
That
use
is a
the
good
netting,
idea.
because they have that row cover netting that you can use for that. It's a real fine mesh netting. So I think I'm going to get some of that for next year for
That is a
later.
good idea. Well, I
So,
was also reading deer and rabbits, and I don't know about you, but I have problems with not so much rabbits because we have a fox around, but
oh, you mean the garlic for garlic?
yeah, it keeps away deer and rabbits.
Okay. You know what I've done for rabbits in the past, and doesn't seem to be a problem this year, but I did have some rabbit pressure when I had the garden beds in the backyard. They would actually jump up in those raised beds, and they were pretty high raised beds, but they get up in there. And I took and made hot pepper spray
Oh, yep.
and sprayed around on everything. And
We've
then
done that too.
they would nibble on it and they didn't like it. And they
Yeah, they
quit chewing
don't.
it.
We did that too. I did that actually to all my trees
Yeah. I take like
all summer
jalapenos
out
and
at our
stuff.
property
Yeah.
because we were coming when we would go out to the property, the leaves would
I,
all be nibbled on.
I bet if you've done like a combo of garlic and hot pepper and sprayed that on there, I bet that would work. Because then you could
Yeah.
maybe get benefit from maybe some of the antifungal properties of garlic,
That's
which
not a bad
would be
idea.
an extra little bonus to the
Yeah. I think I'm going to do that, and I might just try growing a little bit of garlic.
Yeah, I kind of interplant it
My
around. I
own
mean, I
just to
always have the
see.
beds, but then I will
Yeah.
plop like a few plants here and there. Actually, what I generally do is I'll plant some actually in the spring, and that's why I was saying you can plant in the spring, but you're not going to get a big old bulb. But I do it more for the pest
Yeah, I was
control.
thinking maybe I would plant the softneck in the spring.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you can plant them both. You're
I'm
just
not
not
going
going
to
to
get
get a
much
big
of a
bulb.
bulb, but that's okay. I
But
mean,
because
if I'm doing
Softneck
it
does a
for,
bigger bulb, maybe it would produce enough to
yeah.
use. I don't know. I always use the Hardneck because I always got more of that. But yeah,
I was thinking if I'm using it as a pest management or fungal management, I mean, you can get Softneck relatively frugally if you get it at the store. So
yeah. Like I said, I bought some at the farmer's market in the spring and just saved it all year. And
yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go to the farmer's market or to our. We have a local organic store that buys a lot of stuff from local.
You have to go to an organic store, because if you buy,
yes.
you can use, that's something we should probably mention.
Right, yeah.
Can you just take garlic from the store and use it? Maybe
they
not.
Spray it to inhibit.
You're kind of, sometimes they like to spray it with the inhibitor and it keeps from sprouting.
Yeah.
So not all though, it's kind of 50-50. It's like sometimes you'll get stuff that'll grow and sometimes you get stuff that won't.
Yep.
I've tried it in the past and I did get some to produce heads, and then you get some that never pops up. So you just don't know what you're getting there.
Yeah, they do that with the garlic, and I think they do that with potatoes too.
To kill the eyes. Yeah, they do that with a few things, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I would go to our local organic store, which is what I did before. And that's actually how I started my ginger plants too.
Really?
I went to the organic store and bought organic ginger, and yeah.
I know a lot of people who grow like their beans like that. They'll go to a store like that, and they'll have like the beans in the bag you scoop out, and they'll get all their beans like that.
I've never thought about that.
And plant their beans like that because it's so much cheaper than buying seed, and they'll just plant it like that, and it works. Wow. And they have a pretty good turnout from it. So, speaking of beans, there are some things that you shouldn't plant garlic near. Beans are one of them. Believe it or not.
And they taste so good when you cook them together.
Yeah, exactly. But there are companion planting is such a funny thing, because there's people who say there's no science behind it, and there's people that will argue with you about certain things. But experience is kind of what I go by, and it's not even my experience. I look to the experience of gardeners who have been doing it for decades, and they'll tell you, a lot of them will tell you there's these certain things you can plant garlic next to, and there's certain things you shouldn't. And one of those is beans, asparagus, sage, strawberries is one, actually. Leeks, which is weird because it's in that family. Onions, but you're trying to avoid that family, planting next to things that are related.
Because I did plant my leeks,
your garlic,
elephant garlic, which is leek. I planted those together with my garlic.
But see, again, and who knows, that might be something that it would. They're not exactly.
Maybe I should separate them, and
they're not the same as leeks, so maybe it won't hurt them.
Maybe I should separate them and see what
but
happens.
I've heard leeks are on that list, and also onions. Also, you shouldn't plant them near onions, which is weird because they're both related again. But there's some things there that can stunt the growth of other plants like that, of familiar plants. And parsley, I heard, is one that you don't want to plant near. So yeah, there's some things like that that it doesn't do great
I
with,
normally don't
supposedly.
do, I normally haven't done a lot of companion planting, but I've kind of started to, just to help with pests and
Yeah, I think a lot about it
yeah.
because I'm always trying to, even from the first time I planted a garden and I wasn't really thinking about other useful plants, I was still plopping in like marigolds everywhere
Oh yeah,
because, they're supposed to be something that keeps pests away and things. So, I mean, even
they
when I didn't
do.
know,
Yeah.
even when I didn't have a clue what I was doing, I heard that. So I'm plopping those things everywhere in my garden,
My
So
mother and father-in-law always had marigolds
yeah,
everywhere.
gardeners have always done it. And it's like,
Yep.
I knew that. So it's something I was putting in there, which is companion planting. So it was like the first experiments I ever done with companion planting. And I've tried to, there's some good books out there on companion. There are some that have a scientific approach,
There are.
that are probably more accurate, but I don't discount people who just have experience with it. Some people just
No,
say, I don't
ever.
know the scientific reasons. All I know is when I plant these two things together, neither one do good, and I listen to that, because if I don't have to plant them together, why take the chance? Is the way I see it.
Right.
People have experience with things, just because they've tried it and for years, and they learn, and maybe they don't know the scientific reason, and that's fine. They just know it doesn't work or does work great. Um, it's like the people who like garlic with tomatoes. I mean, there's some science behind that. You got the antifungal properties and the pest control,
Yeah.
and being tomatoes or something that,
Well, I mean, there's so many of those old, like the Farmer's Almanac has a lot
yeah,
of those old, like
yep,
farmer tales or wives' tales, but now we're finding out, oh, there was something behind that.
yeah,
Now
just because,
scientifically, like don't plant, you
yeah.
know, just all these little tips that the
Well,
farmers always
it's worth
had of,
figuring out now because we got these
yeah,
universities that can go get like a $3 million grant to learn if you should grow
yeah.
garlics next to leeks or something. So,
Oh,
waste
please
those
don't.
tax dollars.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, please don't. I did.
Oh.
That was the funny thing, is I did find a couple of, there was one, I can't remember where it was. Oh, it was on, I have it on my, up on, it was a publication that one of the universities put out on
Mhm.
the diseases of garlic. So,
Oh, really? The
you know,
ones that garlic actually struggle with.
yeah, which I
Well,
was surprised. One of them was downy mildew, which I have struggled
really?
with
I've never
all
had an issue
summer.
with that.
I
Yeah.
haven't either. And
You
I
would
was
think
like,
it's with its own antifungal properties that it would
I
prevent
know
that.
it was
See, now
weird
that's
to
something I
me
didn't never
too, because
heard. Yeah.
I've had it all summer. Well, not all summer, but I don't know if I've struggled with it with my cucumbers and my squash, but it never went to my,
Yeah,
of
I've
course, my
never
garlic
had
got
an
pulled
issue
a
with it, and
while ago. So I've never
yeah,
had an issue with it either.
yeah,
I've
we've had the
actually,
powdery mildew on a few things. I never had it spread to garlic before. Yeah.
I've never had any disease in my
Yeah,
garlic.
I haven't
Knock
either.
on,
So I didn't
there's
know.
no
I've
wood
never
in
heard
here,
that it had
knock
a lot
on
of
wood.
issues. Yeah.
But
Now we gotta.
I've never had a pest. I've never had a
Mm-mm.
disease, but apparently there's a couple of different
The only thing I could say that you will have an issue, I planted at one place that didn't have good drainage one time,
okay.
and it basically rotted in the soil,
Right. Yeah.
because it didn't have good drainage. But that would have probably killed any plant, so
Yeah.
that was the
Yep.
only issue. And that was actually right off of the, like, next to a downspout off my house and a little side garden next to my house. And so it was just getting way too much
It
water,
was, yeah, it was
and it
drowning.
just wasn't getting it away from it enough. And it basically just drowned it. And
Right.
it looked rotten. When I pulled it up, it just looked like it was just rotten,
Yeah.
so
I mean, there's supposedly some diseases, and I'm guessing we've just been fortunate to not have them.
yeah.
But most of them are funguses, which is interesting considering it's an
Yeah.
antifungal.
Yeah. See, I hadn't heard that. That's interesting. Well, so there's things that you may consider planting it next to, things you may not want to plant it next to. You can do your own experiments on that. I won't lay any claims to any of that other than what you find on the internet from other people who are gardeners. But what you do want is, when you start putting in your garlic beds, is you want to get your soil right.
Yeah.
And seeing as it's that time of the year to do that, you done said you put down a lot of compost or work in some compost. I do the same thing. I
Yeah,
put in compost.
I did when I pulled mine. So I actually planted a cover crop over it for right
Mm.
now. I did that. I actually did that quite a while ago.
After you planted the garlic, you mixed in cover crop over the top?
No, after I pulled it, right after I
Okay.
pull it,
I got you.
did that, and I'll probably cut that down and then put a bunch of compost on when I plant my garlic.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's all I really do too, is I make sure it's loose. I make sure the soil is good and loose.
Right.
And then I don't till it, but I just make sure it's good and worked. And then I put down a lot of compost and kind of work that in a little bit, make sure all the weeds are out. And then I just start plopping it in. You're saying you're planting your Softneck like 5-6 inches deep. I plant all my garlic just like an inch or two deep. I mean, I'm just barely under the soil.
Softneck. My Hardneck, it's just under.
Yeah. So, and in case we're talking to people who've never planted it before, they got a point on one end and a flat side. And that's the root. The flat part's where the roots come out. So that part's down, the pointy end goes up. It'd be real easy to turn those upside down, thinking the point, like pushing it in or something. But yeah, you got to make sure you get it in the right way.
I plant mine pretty close together.
I go about 4 inches, 3 to 4 inches.
Yeah, that's about, and my rows are like not, I don't know, 8 to 9 inches apart. And yeah, I do the same thing. I pack it in there. Actually, I offset it so I can even pack in more. I will alternate it, offset a little bit instead of going straight. I kind of offset it. That way you can bring them a little closer together. The bulbs got room to grow, and they'll pack in there pretty good that way. And I'll do that. It just looks so pretty when you have it all and they don't need all that space. So.
Yeah, they'll kind of push out, and they'll like when I grow them 4 inches apart, they're almost touching. Especially your Softneck, because it gets so. You're actually your Softneck. You probably want to go 5 or 6 inches.
I was gonna say mine's 6.
Those can get really big.
I do mine at about 6. So when you said 4, I was like, wow.
A Hardneck.
And my elephant garlic, of course, gets.
Yeah, you probably want about 8 inches or so with that.
Yeah, those I plant further apart.
But this isn't a leek episode. This is a garlic episode.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
They call it garlic when you.
I know. I just had that argument with somebody one time. He's like, they call it garlic. It's garlic, and I'm like, yeah, technically.
Technically, it's not.
But
when you go to order it.
Yeah, it's in the same place as garlic. Yeah, you'll order it out of the same sections. So you're right.
And you do plant it at the same time. So the question is, do you?
Hey, if it looks like garlic and tastes like garlic, it's garlic, right? I'm with you. Let's go with that. But yeah, it's real easy to plant. It's fun to plant. It's easy to plant. You don't have to do any kind of poking holes or anything. You just press it down in the soil. And it's really
especially
easy.
If your soil's nice and loose.
Now, I've never planted it from seed, so I can't tell you much about that.
Well, I haven't either. I'll tell you next year.
Okay. Now, like I said, I've got a link. I'll put a link in the show notes of an article you can read on planting seed, and it'll probably give you a lot more detail on that. But it's something I've never done, so I'm not really going to go there. But I would imagine, I mean, in general, seeds are usually twice the depth of the size of the seed, and on most things. So I don't know of how deep you should go with garlic seed. I don't know how fast it grows or when you should even plant it. I'm not even sure. I just don't even know how it works.
Well, you're talking seed and not the bulbette?
Well, you get the seeds out of the bulbil. You can plant the whole bulbil if you want, but there's a bunch of seeds in there.
Because my little bulbils, I read I'm supposed to plant them at the same time.
So just you're putting the whole bulbil in the ground.
I could be wrong. Well, the little bulba, so
yeah,
it grows off the bottom of the clove, that little tiny bulbil.
Yep.
That's what I'm planting at the same time. And
but there's
2 years though to get to the normal size.
But I think technically there's a bunch of seeds in there, right?
I don't know.
I think so. I don't know.
So the Hardneck Scape.
We're people are losing all confidence in us right now. We don't even have a clue what we're talking about.
We went down a rabbit hole that we
of something we have no idea about, right?
It gives us a podcast to talk about in 2020.
You know what? I've kicked up that article that I told you I was going to link in, and there are several seeds in that bulb. It almost looks like you ever pulled the onion seeds out of onion flour.
Okay, yep.
They look just like that. They're little black seeds that are in there, and so I'm looking at a picture of it. And yep, they're just little black seeds, like an onion seed. They look like almost just like an onion seed, actually.
Yeah, no, we'll have to do a podcast next year after I did it.
Get a little more detail on it. So that is the truth. But yeah. So anyway, that article should tell you what you want to know if you want to dive into that. I think it's pretty easy just to plant the cloves and go with that route. It's the usual way you do it. But you can definitely take it to a whole nother level, like you like to do, and sometimes I like to do.
It's the experimenting that you start to do as a gardener.
Yeah, you're right. It is fun. It is fun to see what you can do with stuff. So when should you plant garlic? This is kind of the big question. Everybody's like, okay, should I be planting garlic right now or not? What's that?
Depends on where you live.
It does. So I'm just kind of, here's a chart I've got right here that we kind of work down through the zones. For hardneck varieties, if you're in the 3 to 5 zone, now what zone are you? 5A?
I'm 5. One of them were 4B and the other one were like 5A, 5B.
Okay.
Yep.
See, according to this chart, late August to late September. You're telling me you don't plant until October.
I know.
So you're planting kind of late, technically, I guess.
Maybe. Probably.
I wonder if you get bigger. I wonder if you get bigger bulbs if you planted a little bit earlier.
So you're telling me I should go plant my garlic this
I think you should, as soon as this podcast is over, you need to run outside, start planting your garlic.
Well, maybe I should.
But if that's the case, then I should too, because for zone 6 through 7 for hardneck and softneck, late September to late October. So I'm really a couple weeks away technically from when I should be planting.
So we both technically could.
Yeah. You should probably be planting right about now. Me, I could wait a couple weeks.
Which is interesting because my mentor actually, he plants October 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And he buys and sells garlic.
And you got to consider, this is general zones, and you got to think about you're off of a lake. There's different microclimates. Yeah. There's a lot of things that can play into that, but I think this is a general rule.
Well, I might experiment and plant a bed just to see if it
does better.
Yeah.
I honestly think if you're going to do a softneck variety, I bet it might do better because it would have more time to get those bigger.
Just plant a bed full of my hardneck and softneck and say, this is the one Harold made me do. And then
experimental bed. We'll just call it that.
I'll plant the other.
Hey, I'm reading the chart. That's all.
I know. I'll plant the other one and see, like at the normal time, and see if I get bigger bulbs. Now this year I did get decent bulbs, but if I got even bigger, I would be really happy.
Yeah, it sounds like you and I plant about the same time, and I'm quite a bit different on zones, so I'm a little surprised you wait that late to plant, honestly. Yeah. So, but you know your area, so like I said, it could just be a microclimate zone off the lake there and give you a different effect that makes it grow a little different in that area.
I usually wait till the leaves have turned a little bit more, and we don't have any leaves turning yet.
Really, up there already? Nothing yet. You're just
we do it at our
weeks
property.
Away. Okay.
We do it at our property. We have lots of trees changing, but not in town.
Okay.
We have the lake with Big Lake, Michigan. It really does we have grow zones here, but it really just depends on what temperature Lake Michigan is.
Right. Yeah. It can change drastically for sure.
It changes it a lot from year to year.
Yeah. Well, on down through the chart that may or may not be right, because it seems like you're not holding to it, and maybe I am not. Softneck varieties for those in zones 8 and 9 should be planted in November. And then if you're in zones 9 or 10, December. That's crazy to me.
And what zone was I can't remember his name. You did a podcast you posted last night.
Yes, Ken and Kirby. We just posted up, and he is in Florida, so I think he'd be zone 9.
He sounds like he's way down south Florida.
He's central Florida, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So he'd probably be planting in November. I have to ask him that. When do you plant yours?
Ball game down there.
Yeah, just hearing him talk about things and how different the garden is down there.
Bring bananas.
yeah. You talk about the fruit trees and stuff, and I'm like,
right.
Yeah,
so definitely you want softneck if you're living.
Yes, you want
there.
you probably be really hard to grow. You'd have to definitely take extra steps like doing your cold stratification and stuff for your hardneck if you were going to do that, because they require so much chill hour, is I think the word you were looking for earlier. Chill hours for the vernalization is what it's called, if we're going to get technical about it. But yeah, they have to have so much cold, the hardneck varieties do, to grow. So yeah, but that's if you're going to plant according to those zones, we'll get you roughly in the
Right.
right time zone. You could probably vary a couple weeks either way
But
on
for
that.
sure, now's the time to go buy some and secure your garlic.
Yes, yes, for sure. Well, depending on where you're at exactly. I mean, if you're down south, you got till December, I guess.
That's true.
But it might get hard to find. Also, a lot of seed companies, if you're trying to buy it online or whatever, it actually could get hard to find if you waited too long to get some.
That happened to me this year with potatoes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah, I did the same thing this year with potatoes. I ended up having to buy some that I don't normally, which I had a horrible year with potatoes because I was buying varieties I didn't really know anything about because it's all they had left locally.
Yep.
And
I
I
ended
went
up
and bought them
buying
locally.
mine locally, and I liked that I spent my money locally, but I wasn't thrilled with the fact that they weren't organic. They definitely were conventional.
I actually ended up
potatoes,
getting mine from a Rural King. Yeah, they got the big bins there, and they weren't great varieties left because even those were almost empty. And I waited way too long.
But I had a great, spectacular.
You did. I seen your harvest pictures of your harvest. It looked great, and mine not so much. Even the ones I planted in ground weren't great. They did better than those ones I did in the grow bags, but still not great. It was probably the worst year I've had with potatoes.
My raised tub garden didn't do great, but the soil out there is very different than here. It's got a lot more clay in it.
Yeah. I almost wonder if I didn't overwater because I was doing a lot of watering because we wouldn't have any rain. And I almost wonder if I didn't overwater my potatoes a lot because it seemed like, and maybe and honestly, somebody mentioned this too, because we're rabbit holing everywhere here. I'm just going wherever, but I had these really great looking plants. The plants looked fantastic. And I didn't have a lot of potatoes, big potatoes. And somebody said, you got pretty nitrogen rich soil. And I'm like, yeah, I do, because I had I got some pretty rich compost, and I'm putting down I got a lot of companion stuff that's, a lot of stuff that's feeding the soil a lot of nitrogen. I'm dumping manure on there from rabbits. I might have had too much nitrogen, and it actually made those plants. So I ended up with a lot more foliage, and it was putting all that energy into the foliage and not into the potato. So that's a possibility. I might have to be a little more aware of that in the future. That might have been the issue.
Well, I know mine was my clay soil because it was pretty hard packed down in there.
There's always so many things to consider.
Yeah. So you were talking, so once you plant it, that's one of the things that's the easy part about garlic to me. You kind of plant it and forget it.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
But I always mulch it really heavily too.
Right. Yeah.
Just to kind of give it a little protection. So I'll do that. I'll plant it, and sometimes I'll even let it start, because you'll see you might see a little bit pop up, and then I'll start covering it. But unless it's too late and you're starting to get some good frost or something, I might already covered it up. But here, usually it's not too bad by that time. But yeah, I'll put on a pretty good layer of mulch, like straw or wood chips or whatever. Usually straw.
I've used both straw and wood chips.
Yeah, we'll kind of use both here too. So, but just get a good layer of mulch on it, because if you do end up with a really, really cold winter, which you always do, a nice layer of mulch will help protect it.
Well, cold is relative. We keep saying we haven't had a good winter. All the people that are from here are like, we haven't had a good winter in a while.
Our winters have been very mild for like the last 5 or 6 years. But then the year before that was one of the worst winters we've had in a long time. So
I think it was either 2013 or 2014. We had an absolutely brutal winter.
We had a bad one here. Like, as a truck driver, I was catching every bad part of it too. It was bad.
We got down to negative 38 that year.
I don't even remember what the temperatures got. I know that there was so much ice buildup on the roads, and it was so cold that the salt wouldn't melt it.
Yep.
And it was just like big potholes in it. So you can only drive like 20 or 30 mile an hour tops on an interstate, because they couldn't even get the ice off the interstates. It was so bad.
It was bad. And that's the year we lost our peach trees.
Really?
That cold killed them.
Wow.
Could not do that cold. We did it. We were cold like that. We were in negative digits for like 3 weeks in a row.
Wow.
Just even during the day, it was just brutal. I've never remember a winter like that before. So
we'll see a winter like that. You probably ought to mulch your garlic really good.
Yeah.
You know that's coming.
Hopefully, but
a good layer. But you know what? A good layer of snow actually helps protect garlic and stuff that's in the ground as well. So it can, if you have a lot of snow,
for sure.
Yeah, snow can actually help if it's cold, but you got a lot of snow, you should still be okay. Okay, so you get through the winter and it's springtime. Now you can start reaping a little bit of the rewards of your garlic. What do you get first? If you've got hardneck garlic,
You have your
you got
scapes.
your scapes. We love our scapes. I don't know. Do you
Have
do a
you
lot with the
ever made
scapes?
yes, we make pesto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just love
Yummy.
chopping it up, just dropping it on everything for a little bit of garlic taste.
Yeah.
Just dump it in all the dishes. That's how we use a lot of it.
Or well, we do it with, yeah, I didn't this year. I made oil with the scapes.
Really? Tell me
Yeah.
about that a little bit. What do you
So I just infused olive oil or
okay.
infused lard with
Yeah.
it, and you just heat it up. Excuse me. You heat up the olive oil. I try not to heat my olive oil too hot, but with the
Hmm.
lard, you can heat it a little bit more, and it just infuses it, and it's
Wow.
just so good.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. That
Yeah.
might be something to try. Yeah, we like the scapes. I mean, they're easy to pick and use, and you can leave some of them out there, especially if you're trying to get seed like you're doing, because
Right.
it'll create the bulbil. And that is where that would come off of. Yeah, I never let it go that far, so I don't know. It comes off
Yeah.
the scape. Yeah,
Hmm.
um,
On the
yeah.
hard
So
neck. Yeah.
yeah, on the hard neck. So you let that go. Like I said, it never makes it because I pick all mine.
I just let a few of mine go to the, yeah,
Uh,
this year.
but you do that, and you should do that. You should, if unless you're letting some go to seed, you should get the scape off,
Yes, because
because it actually will put that energy into the bulb more.
yeah.
So it's actually good to go ahead and pick those and use them. Even if you're not going to use them, just go ahead and pick them anyway, and get those off there. But you do that as soon as they start curling down. You can wait till they curve downward, and they're ready to they're
Right.
ready to pick, and they'll be nice and tender at that point. Now, if they curl all the way, they start actually getting kind of tough,
They're
and you don't
hard.
want them at that point. Yeah,
Yeah, they get pretty hard.
yeah. So there's a kind of a prime time there to pick them for eating. Okay, it's time to harvest your garlic. A couple months later, how do you harvest yours?
Usually I just dig it up.
You dig them? Do you pull them, or will they pull
um
out? Is your soil loose enough
I
to just give them a
My
yank?
soil's pretty loose
Yeah, I find mine starts getting
because
a
I
little
don't
bit
till and stuff.
compacted by then.
I will take a garden fork and just
Yep,
kind of
that's how I do it too.
gently,
Yeah, I'll
yeah.
just kind of go along them and give it a little pop, and then it loosens
Yep.
the soil enough, then I can just pull them
I
out.
love hearing that though. It's like that little, it's like
Yeah,
when your canning jars ping. I
yeah,
love
it's like a
hearing
little pop sound. Yep,
that garlic pop.
yep, you're
And
absolutely right.
yeah, and then I just brush them off really good. I don't necessarily
Hmm.
wash them.
I
I
guess I
just
should
brush
ask you,
them
how
off
do you
real
know
good.
when they're ready to pick?
For me, I'm not as good about this. This year I picked mine a little bit late, but I do
Yeah,
it when some of the leaves at the bottom start to
yeah,
turn yellow.
about the lower 2 or 4 leaves start
Yep.
browning or turning from green to yellow, brown.
Yep.
Yep, they're ready to pick, ready to harvest. You can wait a little bit longer, but again, you don't want to wait. You don't want to leave it in there too long.
Well, they'll start what I last year I left mine in a little too long, and they start to actually come apart.
Yeah, yeah, they'll
Yep.
do it. Yeah, because they're going. That's how they would expand and spread and
Yeah.
grow more bulbs, right?
Yep.
But yeah, get them out of there. About the time those lower leaves start changing color, yeah, they're ready to pop. Give the old
Yeah.
fork a
And then
pop and get
I
them out of
let
there.
mine cure in my basement for quite a while.
Hmm. And that's all hardneck variety.
Yeah, I do that even with my leeks.
Elephant garlic. Okay.
Yeah, I bring them into my basement and I lay them on there. I don't have a great setup. I need to get, I've seen these beautiful setups people have for their garlic and onions, and I need to do something like that.
I actually
I just put them on a tray, or I have
yeah.
shelves that I use for my seed starting actually that have grates on them, and I just lay them sideways and they get lots of airflow.
I have a section of my grape vineyard that has chicken wire over the top of it.
Okay.
And not because it's just because I didn't want the vines coming down right there, because I wanted to be able to walk through that section. So I put chicken wire across there just to kind of keep the big vines from falling down there, because I like to get under there and do things. I actually have a vermicomposting bin that I made out of a little bathtub up under there, and I want to be able to access it. So the chicken wire kind of holds up the grapevines over that part of the arbor, and a big part of it's kind of open. So I'll take it and I cut and leave about, a few inches of the stem, the neck on, and I just stick them that neck down inside that chicken
Right.
wire and leave
That's
the
what I've
bulb
seen
up.
people do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and let them dry there, and I'll just leave them there because it's kind of shaded, but yeah, so it's not out in the direct sun, and it gets a nice draft through there, and it's kind of semi-protected from like rain or whatever,
Right.
and so it dries them real nice right there. So I just
Yeah,
layer
and
all
that's
them
why
across
I
there.
bring
Yeah.
mine in, is because I don't have anywhere to keep them. Like I don't have an overhang on a porch or anything to keep them
Yeah.
dry from rain.
Yeah.
If I did, I would leave them outside. But
Yeah, you
so
could make something out
Yep.
of some fence or wire or something and
Yep.
just kind of rack them like that, or you can just lay them out on something that's going to give them good airflow. You want them to
Yep.
have a good airflow and dry really good, and that neck will actually dry. I mean, that's what you're trying to do, is dry that neck. That's how you kind of tell.
Yep.
How do you know when yours are cured?
I'm not scientific about it.
Okay.
When I can touch them and the paper starts to come off easy,
Yeah.
I know they're probably cured. But I also don't try to braid mine like you do.
It usually takes about 4 weeks here.
Yeah.
You
If
have to
I
leave them
tried
out
to
drying
braid them,
for
I'd
4
probably
weeks.
be more scientific about it, because you obviously wouldn't want them.
I actually watched
Yeah.
a video, and it helped me kind of know when they're ready. And I guess if you take the neck and you kind of roll it between your fingers, and if it just feels like there's any moisture in there at all, that they need to dry a little bit longer. But if they're completely dry, like that neck is completely dry right there, as you roll it between your fingers, it'll feel crunchy and dry. They're ready.
Yeah. See, I put mine in my seedling racks, which I don't use for a long time, and I just leave them there for a couple of months, and by the time I get to them, they're very dry.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And for the soft neck, especially, leaving the leaves on gives you something to braid.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to do. We like.
And when I know that mine are dry, I trim off some of the roots.
Yes, you can clean them up at that point if you want.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to leave them kind of covered. It actually probably helps a little bit with the storage if you leave them a little bit dirty and leave them, as whole as you can. Because I find it works out perfect. Like I said, we grow enough. We probably don't eat as much garlic as you do. It sounds like you guys use a lot of it. But we don't need that much, really. I mean, by the time we're out of the hardneck, the soft neck is ready to use, and it lasts us until we get our next crop. So
how many do you grow? Do you know how much you grow?
I fill up 2 beds. I fill up 1.5 with hardneck, and 4x8 beds. 1.5 of them are, and I take a half a bed of soft neck. So
okay.
Probably 100 hardneck, and
see, you grow as much
50,
as I grow.
Yeah, 50 soft neck.
I just buy some on top of what I grow because I can't grow enough yet.
And it's enough for us. Yeah, it's enough for us to last our whole year. Plus, I use some of those for seed too. Even I take the Cloves, so I'm taking I'm probably using 20 of those for seed.
Yeah, I don't grow enough yet for that.
Yeah, because we don't eat it as much as you, obviously.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Because I ferment usually every year. I ferment a gallon of it to last.
Yeah, I would say
winter.
Yeah, I bet we only grow 30 or 40 of the soft neck, and probably a little over probably 120 hard neck, something like, if I'm sitting thinking about it more accurately. Plus, I'll plop them around the yard, but I usually don't harvest those the same way, because I think of them more for pest control as companion plants and things like that. But yeah, I have more. I don't waste. If I got extra seed, I don't waste it. I plop it somewhere. I'm bad, but that's the thing too. You can actually grow garlic in pots. I mean, people do. They're shallow rooted, so you can grow them in a pretty small pot. Really, I see people grow them in trays that are probably like 8 inches deep, in these wooden box trays they make.
For an indoor herb garden, if you were
never grew them indoors, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't. Honestly,
or even I think you could grow them indoors,
especially soft neck varieties that didn't need to be
soft neck for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I love it because it's one of them plants that kind of checks all the permaculture boxes. I mean, it's got all these great uses: culinary, health uses, companion plant for pests, and and fungal stuff. And what?
It clones itself.
I mean, it's just it's just like this perfect permaculture plant, really, which is why I love having it on my property. It's one of the reasons, but it's just got a lot of uses, and especially culinary. Now you sent over some you put some links in for some a few things, like some recipes or ways to store it. What was that exactly?
For what? For roasted?
Yeah, it's a roasted one. And what was the other one? You sent a couple, didn't you?
A comfy one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, comfy.
Have you done some of those?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've done all of them.
Okay.
Comfy is one of my favorite ways to cook lots of things, but yeah, you just cook it in fat.
Oh, really? And it just,
Yeah, and then you can use that fat. So you roast it slowly in fat, and then you can use that as like a salad dressing
so it's
or
basically like a garlic
broccoli, or
flavored
yeah, it gives it a
oil,
really
kind
strong
of what it comes out
flavor.
to. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you
Awesome.
can put that, and you just store it in your refrigerator, and you can use it on salad. Or now if you're using, typically when you make comfy, you use lard. So if you put it in your refrigerator, it's going to get hard, but
Yeah.
yeah. And
And then
then
you,
we do the roast, we do infused garlic oil.
uh-huh.
Um, we make that. We've made it for gifts for people.
What do you do the fermented garlic recipe? What do you do with that?
That
How do you do that? I mean, do you just
that is what I save for when I use it more medicinally.
yeah.
I will grind it up like if I have a sore throat or if I'm stuffed up, because garlic can be spicy.
How do you get it to ferment? I mean, do you have to add
Oh,
anything?
ferment. So you peel it like you would, and then I do the whole clove,
Mm-hmm.
and I use a saltwater brine.
Okay. Just
Ferment it
kind of
just
like
like you do everything else.
sauerkraut it, like almost
Yep.
like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Okay. I see you got the link to how to do that, a recipe for that, right?
Yep.
On how to do that. So yeah, we'll check that out. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now
It's
how
really
much does it
loved.
change the flavor profile of that once you ferment it?
I don't feel like it changes the flavor that much, but it
Mm-hmm.
changes the texture.
Okay. Okay.
The
Interesting.
texture's a little bit more rubbery or whatever, but usually when I use fermented garlic, because if you cook it, you're gonna lose a lot of the benefits of
Right.
fermenting it.
Right. Yeah.
So usually I will just grind that up, and that's what I'll use. I'll eat it with like some raw honey, or
Mm,
mostly for medicinal, or like I feel like I'm getting a cold or I have a sore
nice.
throat, or
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Great.
But if you, I don't know what else. I mean, what
When
do
it
you
comes to
do with
me,
raw?
it's just pretty
Most
much,
people don't eat just raw garlic.
yeah,
Usually,
most people don't. And for me, it's
yeah,
purely like we just take the cloves and chop them up and drop them in dishes. I mean, it's
right.
not complicated in this household at all. That's
Well,
how we
anything you
use
could
it.
use regular garlic for, you
Yeah.
could use that for.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just if you cook it, you're probably going to lose the fermented
We'll make garlic
quality.
powder.
Yeah.
I'll dry it really good, put it in the dry, really get it good and dry,
Right.
grind it in the blender and make powder out of it.
Yeah,
Do
and we use a
that.
lot of that too, but I've never made my own because I haven't had enough extra yet.
Yeah. So we do that. And that's about it. That's about all we do with it. But we just use a lot of it. Like I say a lot of it because it doesn't take a lot to flavor a dish.
Yeah, and I don't feel like I use that a lot, but I guess maybe I do, because
If you're
we do
growing
eat
as
a lot.
much as
I mean,
me, and
I eat a lot of
like I
it.
said, I'm taking a lot. I mean, I only grow that much because I want to
Right.
take the cloves to replant a lot of them.
Right.
But half of that probably is going back
The
to
garlic
seed.
and honey, though, man, that is, I
Sounds
think
good.
it's
Never
really
had it
good.
like that, but it sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's really good, but yeah.
Got me wanting to try some of this stuff. I'm going to try the fermented. That sounds really
Yeah, you
interesting.
could
Like,
do that in just a small jar.
but plus, I'm always looking for the gut health qualities of anything
Right.
fermented because
Yeah.
my past with gut cancer and stuff, and I'm always looking for anything that has that quality. Fermented foods are just great for your gut.
They are. Well, and garlic is so good for, I mean, when I was
Yeah.
looking at stuff, I mean, garlic is supposed to be good for anti-cancer properties. So you
Mhm.
combine that with the ferment, and it's supposed to be really, really good for your gut.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I've always heard
Just
too.
garlic
And
alone, not even ferments, but just
yeah,
garlic alone.
sure. Yeah. And we try to eat anything that I think is good for that. I try to get in my body some way or
Right. Yeah.
another in some fashion. Well, I think that's pretty much it. And of course, once you harvest, you take their cloves that are dried and you put back some for seed if that's what you're going to plant with the next year, and use the rest like we're talking about using, and then start the cycle all over again. And it's like I said, it's just like that. It's one of them closed loop plants that you can buy it once really and then always have it if you take the time to collect it and do the things with it. So it's just a great plant, and I'm telling you, between that and radish, those two plants would make you feel like the best gardener in the world because you can't mess up either one of those really.
Okay, but I can't grow radish.
You can grow anything, but you can't grow radish. What's up with
I
that?
can't seem to get them I think I don't know. I just have not been able
Now,
to
if I
get
plant
them
them
to
too
grow.
late, they'll bolt pretty fast. But as far as
Mine are like all
growing them,
woody and
man,
nasty, and I don't know.
See now, but here's the thing with radish. I like the seed pods more than I like the radish.
Oh,
Do you ever eat the seed pods?
I've never
I love it
tried.
when they bolt and they put all these little green seed pods, and those things are fantastic. I drop a dozen of those in a salad every time I eat a salad because they're just great. You
Interesting.
get them when they're young. Once they start getting kind of bit mature, closer to where they're going to start producing the seed inside, they get really woody or tough. But when they're just popped out and fresh and real small, boy, they are delicious. They have a little bit of that radish flavor. I mean, they have a
Huh.
little bit of the heat, but not quite as much, and they're just super, super good. I love them. And I know
I
people
keep
pickle
trying
them.
radishes. I keep trying.
Yeah, you can pickle those and do all kinds of stuff with them, and they're pretty good stuff.
Hmm.
I just love dropping them on a salad. I mean, they're just great. Get a little spice to your salad. Good stuff.
Wow.
I don't know how I
Well,
got sidetracked on radishes.
that's why I was gonna say that's, yeah, we could be sidetracked on all this stuff forever.
Yeah, we always do. I did want to pop in. There was a couple of questions this week
Oh, was
in
there?
the front porch, not necessarily for the podcast, but I just thought
Right.
maybe we
But
would
we can,
tackle them if you
yeah.
wanted to see if you had any insight on. Somebody asked, and nobody has answered her yet, actually. Kayla, our strawberries are seriously thriving, and we want to make them a vertical garden along the garage in the spring. Does anyone have any setups that would work well? Vertical gardening with strawberries. You ever done any of that?
No. Well, the closest thing I have is I have a pot my daughter made. It's one of the strawberry pots where
Mhm.
there's holes in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are
But
vertical. Yeah, you can make those out of barrels. I've seen people take those and make
right,
barrels
yeah. And so
out of
that's
them.
what
You're talking about
I'm,
like a garden tower.
yeah.
Yeah,
And so
okay,
that's what
yeah.
I'm thinking
Those
would
are great
work
for
for
that.
something like that,
If
is
you're
a
growing
garden
that,
tower.
if you're putting them up, like layering them in rows, gutters. I've seen people grow strawberries
Yeah.
in gutters and put like gutter systems and layer them on a fence or a wall and grow the strawberries out of those. And those work really, really well too. So that's a pretty cool way to, because strawberries are so shallow rooted. It
They
doesn't take a
are.
deep
Yep.
pot. You can, like say, you can take a gutter and fill them with soil, and it's just a little hard to water them. The problem with growing anything vertically is they tend to dry out pretty
They dry
fast.
out
Yeah.
anything in
So
that dries out so fast.
if it's not something you can pay a lot of attention to and keep an eye on it and really always be checking that, it's actually not the best way to grow things. With the caveat, if you're doing aquaponics, it's really good.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can grow stuff
I've
like that with
seen some.
aquaponics. Yeah.
So one of our pastors has a really cool aquaponics system that like is on timers and everything, and it's
Hmm.
inside and he's got lights on it. You
Yeah.
could grow crazy
My
strawberries in that
indoor, the
thing.
one I do with the fish tank, I sent you a picture of it. It's actually done
Yeah.
on timers, and it does a timer thing, and it overflows back, and it does everything, and it kicks on once an hour for just a few
Right.
minutes, and does a circulation and does all that, and it works really, really, really good. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and strawberries work great in aquaponics, so it's something that
Right.
grows really good. But
And his was a tower that actually had casters on it. You could roll it
yep,
inside and
yeah, I've
outside,
seen
and
those. Yeah.
you could probably grow great strawberries in something
Strawberries
like
are, they
that.
do grow in garden towers really good. And like I said, you can do a DIY one out of like those plastic
Yep.
barrels. I've seen people make the cuts, and you take like a heat gun and
Yeah, and
pull
you
those down
pull
and
it
make
out.
and then you can fill it up with
Yeah.
soil. You can even put a pipe in the middle, and I've seen this too. And people will run like vermicomposting or just
Yeah.
scraps down the pipe for to feed the soil around the
When I
edge.
went down, we went down to Virginia last year and we stopped at Polyface Farms. They had a huge 55-gallon barrel that they had done exactly that
Yep.
with. It had herbs in it
Yeah, you can do some
on their
pretty neat stuff with
porch.
like that. So that's just a couple ideas I've seen personally.
Yep.
People growing strawberries vertically with using gutters or using the grow towers or things like that. It
Yeah.
works well. I just you got to be careful with the moisture because, like I said, they dry out so
Yeah.
fast.
I
When you
think if I was going to do it in soil on a raised bed, I would have something on a timer,
Yeah,
like
probably a good
water on a
idea. Yeah,
timer.
or yeah, if you had a drip irrigation system running through it
Yeah.
and a timer, yeah, it would work great. But those would be my hints, I guess, if I was going to try to grow strawberries vertically like that. I have done some herbs like that. Had a gutter set up on my fence one time and grew a few herbs like that. But again, I had to really, I've got a bad habit
Yeah.
of, I got so much going on. I got a bad habit of forgetting about things, and I
Right.
don't use drip irrigation for that.
Yeah, I
So
can't with how we have
yeah,
to water from lake water and there's
yep,
too much sediment. But we have I have a lot of grow bags, which I love the idea of them, but they have to be watered
Yeah.
so much.
Again,
So,
maybe I watered
yeah.
my grow bags too much, but I had potatoes
Right.
in or so. I don't know. But they didn't do great in there. So yeah, but it's a different, so many people have great success with grow bags. And I'm not saying you can't. I think you can. Just be careful what you grow in them, and know how to grow in them. And it probably just takes a little bit of practice and experience, like anything,
Yeah.
to have the best crop you can have, with that. Um,
So what was the other question?
I'm scrolling to see if I can find it right now. I don't know. Don't know if I'm gonna find it. Oh, somebody asked about health insurance. They're doing. You
Oh,
answered that actually. You actually posted an answer
well,
up
I
on that.
answered a little bit of it.
Yeah.
S- I have a lot of experience with one of those. Um, we went to a very small church, and our pastor and several people had Samaritans.
Yeah,
And
which is
then
a
my
health
mom,
share program.
yeah, my
Yeah.
mom
Yeah.
had it for, I don't know, 15 years as well. And that's a health share, so it's not insurance.
Right. But
Um,
most states accept that equal to insurance. Some states don't, though.
yeah, they said they accept it as the exemption where
Yeah, right. And
yeah.
some states won't,
Um,
though.
but I
Yeah.
know there's that one's a religious one. I know there's several of them
There's
now.
some that aren't
I
religious in
have
nature.
another
Yeah.
friend, for the life of me, I cannot think of what the name of the insurance is, but I have a friend that uses one that's not a religious one, but it's a, yeah. But then somebody else also answered that, you can go through what do they call it? The marketplace. Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Yeah. When we've checked
Yeah.
into that, at least for us and
It's
for my
expensive.
mom, it was very expensive.
It is. And the reality is, if you're self-employed,
Yeah.
as a farmer or homesteader or whatever, and you're doing your own business,
Right.
health insurance is a real expense.
Right.
And honestly, there's really no cheap way to get actual health insurance. It's just expensive.
Right. Well,
You can go with, if you're a really healthy person, you can go with higher deductibles and probably be okay. But
well,
but
I used to work. So when my kids graduated from homeschooling, I actually worked for a direct primary care office.
mhm,
And that is different than a doctor's office. It's kind of like a membership to a doctor.
yeah,
And so you can do that and then have a very high deductible emergency care. I mean, it costs a ton of money just to walk into the emergency room. I mean, that's probably the most affordable way to do insurance
yeah.
as a self-employed person.
Yeah, and then just looking into the health share programs are probably the cheapest
Yep.
options. But even then, there's a lot of, it doesn't work quite as seamlessly as an insurance. It's
No.
pay back a lot of times. Like you got to pay up front and then they reimburse you. And I don't even know all the details on them, but I
Yeah,
know that
my mom would
there's some complications to it. Can
my
be.
mom would get these crazy deals, but she's a businesswoman and she could talk.
Yeah.
She could talk.
It's not as convenient as
Yeah.
regular insurance for
No, it's
sure.
definitely very time intensive for the person that has it for a health
Yeah.
share, at least from my experience. My mom doesn't have it now, she's older now and has Medicare, but
Yeah.
what was I going to say, the other, oh yeah, a lot of those don't cover like prescriptions and physicals and stuff.
Right. Right. You're still paying out of pocket with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a reality of, and I hate to even go here, but it seems like there's a grand plan to not have people be self-employed these days. It's like being an entrepreneur or a self-employed person. It's like there, many things are difficult. And I think it's better in the long run to be that reliant, self-sufficient, be employed that way, even let that carry out through your entire life. But they don't make it easy in a lot of ways. I mean, there's a
They
lot of
don't. I
things
mean,
that,
I'm self-employed.
yeah,
I have a cleaning business. It's just me. I don't have employees. And
yeah.
I like it because of the flexibility. But it certainly is, they don't make it easy.
I
There's a
had my own
lot
trucking
of,
company for years,
yeah,
and it
there's
was
a
a
lot.
lot of headache to deal with
And my
things like
mom
that.
was
Yeah.
self-employed. It has, like, most of my life she was self-employed. I mean, it is a lot harder, but it makes it
Yeah.
easier for me because my husband actually works for somebody,
Right.
so he has the insurance.
If you ever want to make a full transition though into a full
But
family of
your
self-employed, it's
whole
tough. It's
family,
tough.
that is,
I think it's worth it though if you can get there.
yeah.
I think it's worth it, but it's tough and they don't make it easy
Kudos
on
to
you.
you though, because it's definitely, I think, you definitely work really hard to maintain that, especially when you consider the insurance. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah,
That's the only reason probably my husband hasn't started his own business is insurance.
yeah, it's a real expense. I mean, for
Yeah,
a family insurance, I mean, you're talking probably over $1,000 a month just
at
for a
least.
decent insurance, you know, and
Yep. Yep.
probably more than that.
I think it's more than that. When we looked into it, it was
Yeah,
like
it's pretty salty. I mean, I looked
astronomical.
at it years ago when I had my own business, of course, and had it, but yeah, nowadays it's crazy. Ever since the whole Obamacare thing and all that stuff happened with
Mhm.
it really went up in price. It really went up in price. So
It has gone up a lot. So,
yeah,
I mean, I'm hoping maybe other people in the group can chime in about that. Maybe
I
there's
said she
somebody,
had a couple answers there of
yeah,
suggestions, but I don't know how. There's no great answer for that. But I just thought we'd
yeah. And a
tackle it
lot
here
of
a
it really
little bit.
depends. I mean, are you a really healthy person and you only go once a year?
Yeah, I mean, if
You
you
have
could,
chronic health
if you feel
issues,
like
like,
that risk of having high deductibles and having
right,
insurance for what it truly is, something where you can't afford and it covers that, and you try to take care of doctor visits and prescriptions and all that yourself, maybe you can still get a pretty affordable
right,
deal, or even use a health share program and be fine. But if
right.
you've got medical issues, you're probably going to want a good insurance.
Well, and I mean, high deductible, what's high deductible? I mean, I
Yeah,
can tell you from, I mean, just walking in the
everything's
door to
expensive
the
now.
emergency room is a few $1,000s.
I
So,
went and had some blood work here a while back, and it was hundreds of dollars. I was like, "What?" I mean, I can't even remember how much it was now, but it was like $600 or $700 for some blood work
yeah,
or something. And
it's
I
crazy.
was in the process of changing jobs, so I had to pay that. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Got me right in
Yeah.
between it, man. I didn't even see it
We
coming.
have we have a high deductible insurance, but then we do get like, yeah, so it's bit us a few times in the
Yeah,
last few
yeah.
years. But
Yeah, I don't have a great insurance where I work now. I'm only working 3 days a week because I changed. I went from working, 6 days a week, being on the road, working tons and tons of hours, where I work pretty minimal amount of hours now and 3 days a week. And because I'm doing other stuff now to compensate for that, we're doing some
right.
self-employment stuff that's working out pretty good. So, we got that. And yeah, so but it's not the best insurance in the world either that I have at this
Right.
place. So
Well, I
oh,
think if that ever gets solved, that you'll have a lot more entrepreneurs out there. I think
well,
there's a
then
lot
they'll
of people
probably
stuck.
never solve it then because I don't think they want that.
Yeah, I don't.
Honestly.
It's certainly freedom.
uh, it's just something they're gonna, yeah, people just, it's just something you have to add into your expenses. And you got to think, okay, I got to make this much to replace my job. Well, you got to add that insurance in there on top of it because it's a
Yeah.
reality.
And don't, I mean, I guess I would say don't expect to replace if you work for somebody and you have good insurance, don't expect to be able to afford to replace it.
You can if you make enough money, but it just, you
Yeah,
got to think between you and your employer could be spending a couple $1,000s on that insurance, and it might
right.
take that much extra to replace it. So is what you're going to do as an individual
Right.
going to cover that, above and beyond what you were making to cover the
Yeah.
insurance. So you got to think about that. And
That's,
some things, and when you get in being an entrepreneur and you get, if you're successful at it, I mean, that could very well be the case.
but homesteading keeps you pretty healthy too. So,
It can, but you're actually can have accidents and things too, especially
oh, yeah.
farming. I mean, farming accidents are a real thing. I mean, things happen.
Well, for me, gluten accidents. So,
I say healthy, but then I was just working on my car this weekend and I can't really stand up. I'm so sore. So I don't know
oh,
if that's
yeah.
that's just old age though.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it just takes gluten to send me to the hospital. So,
Yeah. So yeah, it's just the reality. Things happen, for
yeah.
sure. Let's answer one more briefly, real quick, and then we can kind of wrap it up. This person, it was Kayla again. It was the same person. We have scrub olive trees. Did you see that post in there about the olive trees that were taking over
No,
their
I did
40
not
acres?
see that one.
So
Oh, is it
it's
the
the
autumn
autumn
olives?
olive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I did
And they
see
have a
that one.
40-acre piece of land, and these trees were just taking over. And they're a great permaculture tree. Autumn olives are actually a tree that it's highly desired in a permaculture farm, but they are pretty invasive too.
Yeah,
And
we have them
so
at our
they're like,
property.
how do we keep them from taking over? And there were some suggestions, but there was one suggestion in there. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because somebody recommended like using, glyphosate or whatever
Roundup.
on it. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, don't use Roundup out on your property.
Yeah,
I'm just
I've not.
against it. Sorry, I can't ever say use that,
Right.
it'll kill it, but
As a
I wouldn't
cancer
use it.
survivor, you don't ever.
Yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
against it. I can't possibly recommend that. And I would try 1,000 other things before
There
I
are
would ever try
so
that.
many. I mean, you can
And
like
you
we
recommended, and I
grow.
recommended, if you can get somebody with goats, goats will eat it up. They'll love
Even
it.
if you only have the goats for a little while,
Yeah, and
you
you could
know.
you get you some temporary fencing and just kind of move it around and keep it around certain areas and just let them just tear it up.
I would do that, or I would be cutting it down, but I would be doing lots more things. I would be doing so many
so I
things
made the
before I
suggestion.
sprayed.
Yeah, I actually wrote a post a while back on my blog site, on my blog, of organic herbicides. Now they're not quite as strong as some of your commercial stuff, but they work pretty good. And there's some that work better than others, of course. But that I would cut personally. What I would try doing if I didn't want to use goats is I would cut them as low to the ground as I could cut them, and then I would go in with some of these organic herbicides, and I would just try to find the strongest ones and spray that area with those organic herbicides. Go that route before I would ever think
they're
about
nitrogen fixers.
Yeah, they are. The plants are great themselves, but they are invasive. They can they can definitely spread.
We have an issue with them here.
Oh, do you really? Okay.
A lot of property. Yeah. A lot of places have a lot of them. And
great berries, very nutritious. I mean, they're actually a good plant to have.
They're really tart. They have a really big seed. That's my one complaint about them. The seed's very big and you get very little fruit out of them, but they're really good. So, I mean, we're probably going to cut a few of ours down and just keep cutting them and cutting them and cutting them until they don't come back.
Until you get some goats.
I would actually like goats. So.
Yeah, they'd be fun to use on something like that. But again, it takes some work too. They're a whole nother challenge. So you go from the challenge of having autumn olives to the challenge of having goats. Because I grew up with some goats, and they are definitely a challenge.
Keeping them fenced.
But you can keep it now. And here's the thing about invasive stuff too. If you do want to move your taking care of property into that area, once you cut them flush or get them out of the ground or whatever, cut them down low, and if you just continue to mow, if you're bush hogging and mowing, and they can't grow if you're mowing every week or two. They can't go and do anything.
Right, and well, that's what you could be the goat.
Yeah, right. You're keeping
you go in and you just mow it and mow
Absolutely.
it and mow it and mow it, and eventually they will give up.
Yeah,
take a while, but
unless you got goji berries, then they'll never give up.
But have you tried goats?
No, I haven't. I've not tried cutting them every week either. Honestly, if you did that, they would die if you just kept them cut to the ground level, a couple 3 or 4 inches high every other week or something. They're going to die eventually.
Yeah. So I think if I didn't have goats and I don't personally want any sprays anywhere near any of my stuff, I would probably mow or brush hog.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, me too. That's what I would do. So that's my answer. There's probably some other answers out there, but that's the way I would go about it if I didn't, goats or just cutting down low. Last case scenario, herbal or organic.
And depending on how much property there is, that could cost a lot of money. So
yeah. But as far as spraying Roundup or something, I wouldn't go there. And it's to each their own, but it's something that I would avoid at all costs. I would rather be just my property completely taken over before I'd go there.
I would rather too. I don't want to use
it's such a problem in this world right now with this dead soil. It's killing the soil. It's the runoffs getting into all of our water systems. It's such a huge problem that I could just never justify it. I just can't.
I personally don't think we even have any idea yet the ramifications of the long-term effects.
I think you're right too. I think the water systems and the saturations in the grounds are just what we're getting it. We're getting it in our they're finding traces of it in all the water now, and it's such a horrible thing. I just wouldn't do it. That's just me. So as far as that suggestion goes, I disagree with that suggestion. So that's where I'm at. So, we'll just wrap it up. I think that we covered garlic pretty good, and there's some stuff we knew about, some stuff we don't. So we're not growing it from seed yet. So there's things about that we don't know. And there's aspects of it that it's just going to depend on your homestead, where you're at, what you're doing, your soil, your microclimates, everything on when you plant it, when you harvest it, how you do it. But that's our experience, and it works pretty good. So for where we're
still
at,
learning lots, just like everybody else. There's probably somebody out there that they have a garlic farm and they could tell us everything.
and you know what we lack in educating people, I hope we can at least inspire them to try it.
Exactly.
So because we do think it's worth growing for sure. If you're not growing it, it's something you should grow probably. You find a use for it, and so even if you don't like the taste of it, it's got other value. So it's worth having on your homestead for sure. So I think that's it. Anything you want to add?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right. Well, we'll do
Yeah.
this again next week. And until then, folks, happy homesteading and God bless.
And grow where you're planted.
All right.